여기 기름 떡볶이 원조 진짜 원조예요?
진짜 원조 할머니는 돌아가셨어. 옛날에 나는
어머니의 엄마? 아니요?
엄마 아니야.
Seochon, or West Village, or Seochon Hanok Village, is a tremendously popular neighborhood in Seoul that, because of its fame, won't need much of an introduction to many of you. Or does it? Exploring and introducing neighborhoods that are this well known makes me a bit anxious.
If you go to Tongui-dong, there is the best 기름 떡볶이 place ever.
What can I find that you already didn't know? Places like this are already strongly defined online with terms like Seochon Village or Top 10 Hidden Gems. Well, it's hardly hidden, or a labyrinth of Hanoks. But can we define an area whose boundaries are ambiguous?
Seochon is not really defined by an administrative boundary, not officially. It's in fact a cluster of many different neighborhoods. In my opinion, it's everything that I drew a black line around. Striped areas are two neighborhoods that I have already explored, Ogin-dong and Gyeongbok. If you're new to the channel, this is the map that I'm making. I'm exploring all the 467 neighborhoods in Seoul. One by one, we take a deep dive into the gems, uncover hidden stories. Sometimes I do it alone, sometimes with a special guest, an expert who knows the neighborhood really well, like today, Robert Fouser, who knows Seochon really well because he has lived there in a Hanok, in a Korean traditional house.
There's no better way to show us around than walking together with special guest Robert Fouser, an American linguist, urbanist and writer who has lived in Hanok and has been deeply involved with Seochon since the late 2000s.
And today he will walk us through his old neighborhood, and I'm so happy to have you on the show.
Nice to be here, and thanks for inviting me. It's a great honor to be here, and I love talking about Seochon and Hanok, so I'm looking forward to it.
We begin our exploration in the southwestern corner of Seochon, specifically in the Tongui-dong neighborhood.
So this area is actually quite interesting. Now it has a lot of tourists and things like that, but if you look at this area compared to other parts of Old Seoul, the interesting thing is the streets are all straight. And this area in the Joseon dynasty, in the Joseon period, this area was an attached palace. The main palaces that we know about, like Gyeongbok and Changdeok-gung and all the important main palaces, but then there were a bunch of little attached palaces. And that was for the Queen Mother or somebody's relative or these kind of people. So this area had several of them. This was one area with an attached palace. And so what happened then is when the Japanese colonized Korea, they destroyed the kingdom. So that land became developable land. So they developed this into a housing area for Japanese officials.
I see.
And there's what is called in Korean, I think I'll get it right, I'll get it later. In English, it's called the Oriental Development Company. And that company was responsible for taking land from Koreans and selling it to Japanese or collaborator Koreans, however you want to, It was essentially a way to control the land of Korea, because at the time the country was mostly agricultural. Control the land, you control the country. So those officials lived here. And you can see that these houses, none of those houses are remaining, but these are big lots. So these were the important people. And if we walk further up, we will find the houses where the less important people live.
If you look at the map of Tongui-dong, the bigger plots are easily visible. Even more so if you compare them with the smaller plots in the northern part of the neighborhood.
This area was, long time attached palace.
And none of that remains.
And none of that remains, and then it went over to the Japanese, and so this area became an important part for the Japanese during the Japanese occupation. Then after that ended, of course, Cheongwade, the Blue House, is here, and the President of Korea lived in the Blue House up until recently. It's always been sort of in the shadow of power.
Oh, no way. I'm a big fan.
Oh.
This was on my list of exhibitions I wanted to visit.
Oh, okay.
Werner Bronkhorst from South Africa.
Yeah.
And he's big on TikTok.
Great.
All right, okay, now I know where it is.
Now you know where it is, yeah. Glad we came here.
Yeah.
When I returned to see his exhibition at the Ground Seesaw Gallery, located in a beautiful building, I noticed something incredible. Something I had missed during my last visit with Robert.
I found it. A stump of an old pine tree, a white pine tree, and there were only 3 of them in Seoul. Only 3, and they came from China a long time ago. And then one day during a storm, this tree toppled down, they couldn't protect it, and only the stump remains. This is the stuff I like to find on iGoBart, and it looks fantastic. The other 2 trees the white pine trees still remain. One is at Jogesa Temple and the other one is at the courthouse. You can still check them out, and they grew big, beautiful and strong. Unlike this one, unfortunately. But there's a photo, you can see what it used to look like.
It's a lace bark pine and not native to Korea, but it was introduced from China during the Joseon Kingdom. They're extremely rare.
A lot of interesting things on this street. Talk.
So a lot is going on.
A lot going on. See this bookshop? That is run by Han Gang-san.
Oh, that's the one.
That's the one that was in the news.
Yeah, another one of the place I wanted to visit.
I mean, after she got the Nobel Prize, there were lines and people were
I
talking.
can imagine, right?
And before that, I would go here and just look around and
Yeah.
say, you know, it was just like a neighborhood bookshop. A little bit of emphasis on literature. I would just walk in, and a couple times I wanted to say, like, I'm an author, do you want to have my book? And I thought that would be a little bit too, gauche.
But you did it anyways.
I held back, actually.
Oh, you held back,
Now
no
I
way.
wish I had.
You could have become really good friends with her if
I
you,
could
if you
have,
pushed
yeah.
through.
Here's my chance, like I could have become an author friend. This is empty now, but this used to be Cafe Spring. And this was one of the early cafes that came in Seochon. I think it opened in like 2008, 2009. And I got familiar with Seochon in 2009. So there weren't that many cafes. There's an interesting thing where when I taught at Seoul National, instead of having just a boring makgeolli party sitting around and getting drunk with the students, I would insist that we do a walk before anything is served. And so I gave my students walks around Seochon, and we would always go here. One time it was a class of about 15 kids, 15 students, and we did our walk. 2 policemen followed us.
No way.
And they knew who I was, and I said, well, I'm with my students, you guys don't have to.
Yeah.
I said, any group over 10 we have to follow. Even then, there was a lot of security because of Cheongwo Day. And the students were like, what kind of neighborhood do you live in? This is the not as high-ranking people. So
okay.
they lived in this alley.
So smaller plots.
So we can go in.
Yeah, let's go in.
And if you know Japan, suddenly you feel like you're in Kyoto.
For the people at home, Robert has lived in Japan for a long time.
I lived in both countries 13 years each.
Was that intentional?
No,
Okay.
although I use that simple fact to say that I like both countries equally the same.
Nice.
Which is politically correct.
Are any of these houses from back then, or are
These
they all?
are, yes. You can see, if you look up there, the roof, they're all these old Japanese-style houses. They've been redone. Hanoks have, sort of a layer of dirt that you put the tiles on. Japanese houses don't have that. So all the heat in the winter goes right out of your house. They're cold.
Honestly, the magic in Korea, the magic happens in most of the back alleys, for
Yes,
real.
It really does.
Robert has been deeply involved in preserving Hanok, especially here in Seochon. He even remodeled his own Hanok, blending traditional and modern styles. So he knows a thing or two about these historic Korean homes, which makes walking through Seochon with him all the more interesting.
All Hanok have this courtyard. The courtyard actually wasn't like a place to sit and drink wine. Actually, it was a workspace. Make kimchi, raise kids, do all kinds of housework out here. But the problem nowadays is a lot of people want the living space to be inside. They don't want to deal with this. And so Hanok, the madang is kind of considered wasted space. I mean, this kind of land is quite expensive. You might want to use it for living space because lifestyle has changed.
Yes.
People now don't have as many kids.
Yeah.
People don't make kimchi anymore. So all of these were built in the 1930s or 40s, most in the 1930s. This wall and the exterior wall of the house are now the same thing. This is called a hwabangbyok. That is for fire protection. And also water and stuff. So this kind of protects the house. This, say like a country estate, this would be the outside wall. And the buildings would be inside with space between them. The bigger the space, the wealthier the person. And so what they did when they made this city-style Hanok is they combined the exterior wall around the property with the exterior wall of the building. The Joseon period Yangban would feel very uncomfortable in this house because people are walking right by the wall.
We haven't even stepped outside Tongui-dong yet. It's just that dense, culturally. Like much of Seochon, it's packed with Hanok, and wandering through the Hanok alleys is honestly a lot of fun. Calling it the Hanok Village makes sense.
But this is a wonderful alley, and when I would give RAS tours or other tours, I'd come down this alley and everybody go, ooh, ah. I call it the ooh, ah alley.
The ooh, alley. It's a lovely alley.
It's a lovely alley. This house is actually quite interesting.
Wow.
This used to be a restaurant. What do you notice immediately that's different from the other hanoks? Look over there.
I mean, the wall?
The wall is not the wall of the house.
Yeah.
So this was built around 1910, or a bit older. So this would have been the more older style where you have, you know, you put a wall around your property and you put the house inside that. These windows, I'll show you later when we talk about my house, but I don't think anybody lives here. I think we're okay walking it. These windows were sort of a model for the windows that I used in my house.
But Hanok Village is only part of the story. You also find remnants of Japanese colonial rule, like anime properties called Joksangaok. And then there are the countless galleries that make this area perfect for a weekend date. Think Ground Seesaw, the famous Boan Yogwan, an old intern gallery, and the Delhi Museum. But as we head further north into Cheongsan-dong and Gyeongja-dong, things get quieter. We're getting closer to the Blue House now, and that definitely shaped the area, with strict height limits and extra layers of security.
This street I used to call Gentrification Central because this street is probably the place, the origin of gentrification in Seochon. And MK2, that was an early cafe. The typical thing, coffee and art, like artists and coffee and then bars. And so you had that first layer of gentrification was this street. This side and that side, one big difference is the gentrification started here. This is closer to the Blue House, more security, you know, much more sort of connected to power, a bit richer, wealthier, bigger houses. That has more smaller Hanok, more middle class. So I lived over there, and when I would get together with neighbors and we had maybe a little too much to drink, we would talk about something happening over here.
Yeah.
And the conclusion was, well, that's 그쪽. 그쪽이야.
So you still othering here inside the neighborhood.
Othering, like 그쪽 사람.
Yeah.
So, Cheongsan-dong and Gyeongja-dong feel more residential, quiet and well secured thanks to the Blue House. A lot of politicians lived here. You also find bigger Hanoks, like this peaceful cafe called Bear.
Gyeongja, from my experience now, is a really quiet part of Seochon. You can see that all the villas and the standalone houses, they all look so different from each other. There's a nice diversity here in architecture, which makes it really, really pleasant to walk around.
But what Seochon is really known for, at least to me and according to tons of online write-ups, is its past as a creative hub. This was the neighborhood of artists, poets, writers and painters, the whole creative crowd. To get a real feel for that side, we need to cross into what I will call Robert's part of Seochon, West Seochon, starting with Tongui-dong.
So this Menghakyo, Seoul Menghakyo, this would be the school for the blind.
Ah.
And just where we pass there would be school for the deaf.
From Tongui-dong we enter Ogindong, one of my personal favorites. I even made a full video about it, because it's packed with fascinating stories, just like nearby Gunjeong-dong, where President Park Chung-hee was assassinated, also covered in another video. But let's return to Ogindong, to the stunning Susong Valley, although for a brief moment in time it wasn't so stunning.
And the park is where they destroyed, there were I think 6, 7 maybe Ogin Shibom apart, which were quite high up. Rumor on the street is Park Chung-hee wanted apartments to be visible from Cheongwade. So they built apartments here that were visible from the garden in Cheongwade, so that he could point out the progress Korea is making.
When foreign visitors.
When foreign visitors.
Yes. Ah.
And they tore them down and built a park here. Ogin Shibom apart Hunjang. Traces of the apartments that were here. They were built in 1971. They were torn down in the late 2000s. And the reason they were torn down is because officially this is a nature area. Later, as Korea developed, people became more sensitive to preserving nature. The neighborhood group I was a member of and the city cooperated to get this sign up. It wasn't the easiest thing. It looks really easy. Just hang a sign.
Just a sign, right?
But you know, you got to go through all the meetings and who wrote the words and who checks it, and it was kind of an interesting.
That's so cool.
And 나무를 캐시는 거예요? 쑥. 아, 쑥.
도다리 쑥국 해 먹으려고.
아, 네네네.
생선 도다리랑.
맛있게 생겼네. 예.
이거 빈대떡도 맛있어요.
So that here you can see the details.
Yes.
And they even left the tile and the electric outlets.
Yeah.
You know, so this was a big thing for the neighborhood group I was a member of. Like, the city wanted to tear it down, we wanted to keep it. Once we got their approval to keep it, then the sign.
The area where gentrification really took off fairly recently is around Nusang, Nuha, Pidun, Dongin and Chebudong. I can't get enough of it. This is where many of Korea's most celebrated painters, poets and writers once lived, or still do. You can visit Lee Sang-bom's old house, the Pak No-soo Art Museum, or the nearby house where poet Yoon Dong-ju stayed. There's even one of Seoul's oldest bookstores.
Divided the Madang
Yeah.
to create two houses.
Ah.
And that happened in Seochon quite a bit.
Yeah.
Because again, not, more middle class people, not
Yeah.
as wealthy as the other side of the
Make it
street.
affordable.
It used to be an old bookstore, and even as late as like 2009, it functioned as an old bookstore, but then it just kind of turned into this showroom,
Yeah, cafe
showroom, so that it's no longer really functioning as a bookstore.
Right.
My favorite street in this part of Seochon follows the path of an old waterway, now buried beneath the ground.
So all this is underground now.
Yeah, to
And
Gyeongbok.
even the big street is a stream.
That's what gives it that zigzag layout, and it's packed with cafes, bars, restaurants and shops, on the street and in its side alleys. You really need to see and feel it for yourself. There's simply too much to discover for me to highlight only one or two things. But one particular dong deserves special attention. Tongui-dong, home to an iconic market and one of the chillest hangouts for Seochon's elderly residents.
The story of this is, you can see in 2012, this is when this was built. There used to be a little, like a round bunch of chairs here. Gu Chong-jang, the head of the Jongno Ward Office, Kim Yong-jung he wanted to do something here, and there was a battle over the name. Some of his supporters and people near him wanted to name this area Seochon Maul, and the young people and the people who lived here hated that name. So he wanted to call this Seochon something.
Yeah.
Seochon Maul something, and anyway, but people couldn't agree. And the
Everything's
crowd-
already called Sejong.
Everything's called Seochon, and that's why younger people didn't like it.
Yeah.
Because it's like almost like a kid.
Of course, you need to know that Sejong was born in Seochon. This is now the Sejong market, isn't it?
Yes,
Yeah.
that's a relic from that time where the head of the Jongno office wanted to call it Seochon. So he won that battle. He didn't win the battle up here.
Yeah.
So this is that stream, and then this is the stream. So this is the entrance
Famous
to
market.
the market. The gate, this is kind of a creative, interesting gate. This was designed by an architect named Hwang Do-jin, who lives in this neighborhood. And apparently now they want to tear it down and redo the gate.
Ah.
But he's trying to preserve this. It was built in 2011, so you have this interesting thing of something in 2011 is now being considered worthy of preservation.
Yeah. It's about time I introduced one restaurant to you guys, but Seochon is big and there are so many good places, so many machips, from cafes to bars to restaurants, bakeries or whatnot. It's endless. But to choose one is difficult, but I have a friend, Joe, and he goes around the city, around the country actually, to introduce the best mums and pops restaurants. I'll just give him a call and see if he can recommend me something in Seochon. Let's see what he has to say. Hey! Hey! How's it going?
There is the best Gyeongbok tteokbokki place ever. You might see my reel where I went there twice because the lady works there with her son. She's literally the best ever.
While we're heading to Joel's food recommendation, shout out to his Instagram, here's a quick bit of background. Dongin Market was originally built during the Japanese colonial period to serve Japanese residents. Like we mentioned earlier in the video, they live nearby. After liberation, it quickly transformed into a Korean market. These days, it caters more to tourists, but it still feels local and way less crowded than other famous markets. I think it's super down to earth and a must visit when you're in Seochon.
한 명이요. 네. 너무 더워요. 이 사람 아세요? 여기 가봤어요.
여기 왔어.
네네네. 저한테 여기 추천해줘서 저도 왔어요.
그래서 어떻게 드려?
네, 친구요.
친구야?
네네네. 영국 남자.
유튜브에 왔어.
네.
유튜버.
그 친구 여기 그 반반 맛있다고 추천해줘서.
혼자 왔으니까
네.
반반 드릴게.
그래서 네.
이는 반반에다가 빈대떡 했어.
네.
여기도 그렇게 해드려?
네, 똑같은. 네, 감사합니다. 네.
내가 주는 거예요.
네, 감사합니다.
하나 한 입에. 하나
둘 다
한
같이
입에.
먹어요. 네. 네, 감사합니다.
I agree 100% with Joel. The food was amazing and yeah, sorry, I'm not great at talking while eating. I'm more of a quiet enjoyer. But honestly, the harmony was the cherry on top. Her charisma and friendliness made the whole experience even better.
너무 맛있어요.
맛있어.
네네네.
안 달아. 이건 설탕 안 들어가.
여기 기름 떡볶이 원조 진짜 원조예요.
진짜 원조 할머니는 돌아가셨어. 옛날에 나는
어머니의 엄마
아니야.
아니에요?
엄마 아니야.
가족
엄마
아니에요?
아무것도 아니야. 내가 이제 39년.
Anyway, this is the Ogori,
Uh-huh.
which is kind of a known place. 1, 2, 3, 4, five streets coming together, Ogori. And this footprint dates from the Chosun period.
All right.
Because that was the stream, right?
Yeah.
This was the walkway.
Because it followed the stream.
It follows the stream.
Yeah.
So that was water, and then this is where you would walk. This is the Chosun period footprint for this area.
And that Joseon Kingdom footprint path leads us to Robert's old Hanok. And while I'm getting a pretty good impression of Seochon, I also wonder why Robert became interested in Hanok in the first place.
So what made you initially interested in Hanok?
I've always been interested in old houses, probably from my parents, because my father had studied architecture. My mother liked design and stuff like that. So kind of family interest. But the real thing was when I moved here and I saw the redevelopment, the pressure of redevelopment. That's what really kind of hit me.
Yeah.
So
it's not only interest, we need to do something.
Level all of this, get rid of it and turn it into one of those horrible apartment complexes.
Yeah.
That kind of got my blood boiling. And Hanok is a good tool to use for preservation. It's an argument. Not the only argument, but it's a good argument because the city already did it in Bukchon.
Have you ever felt a force against you because you're not ethnically Korean? But
yes.
You're trying to preserve Hanok in a different country.
I felt that, and but fortunately, everything I've done has been with Koreans.
Yeah.
So I've never done anything alone. But I've gotten go home.
Yeah.
Go to your own country, get out of here. I've gotten very angry responses sometimes.
Yeah.
The pro-development people. And what you do is you just smile and don't argue. And there it is on the left.
Hey, nice. Is it the second one?
It's the second one.
All right.
Yeah, this is my house all the way from here to here.
Nice.
And you can see how I copied from the restaurant.
Yes, I can see it.
I just took it.
Can you believe we're still not done yet? Seochon, home to the famous harvest altar. Arguably falls within Seochon, but since there's more to say about it, I will save that for another time. To the north, there's Gyeongbok, a neighborhood historically reserved for the aristocratic class. Even today, it maintains an affluent image, with luxury villas leading up to the stunning Gyeongbok Literature Library.
This is Jahamun, and this is kind of what people consider the end of Seochon.
Kind of Guggenheim building here.
Guggenheim building. Maybe that's a Kim Jong-up building.
Kim Jong-up, yeah, could be.
Could be.
I bet he has some buildings here.
Yeah, so this is kind of the end of Seochon. Now you see all this, this is gentrification and stuff, but instead of looking at this negatively, I'm like all these young people having interest in the old neighborhood, you can look at that positively. It doesn't have to always be like, there are too many people, neighborhood's going to hell, you can look at it, people are rediscovering. So the best adjective for Seochon to me is not old, not retro, none of that, it's eclectic. Because eclectic means a mix of things that don't always match. Neighborhood has Joseon period history, Japanese occupation period history, recent history, gentrification. It's eclectic. Part of the fun of a city is discovery, unpredictability. Like you're walking by and it's like, wow, something's there. That's what a city should be like. Not like, I'm gonna go to Starbucks on this street, like every Starbucks is the same. You can want that for some things, but the fun of a city is urban discovery.
After many visits to Seochon, it always strikes me the same way. It doesn't try to impress, yet somehow it always does. Any attempt to brand it, like calling it Seochon Village, feels a bit off. Within Seochon, the differences are clear. East, west, north and south all have their own vibes. Eclectic feels like the right word, just as Robert said. So many people have been inspired by this area, and still are. It's hard to define something this vast and layered. But if I had to try, I'd call it undefinable eclectic creativity.
Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.
Thank you.
Aru.